Baby's first appointment.
Hopefully Daddy does okay finding where I'm supposed to freaking go.
You will. Okay, let me stop. You guys see this? It's such a crazy feeling. We're going to his first appointment. I'm gonna stay in the car. I'm still feeling lots and lots of pain. He was at high risk of jaundice because he was born slightly early. I mean, he's not early, he's term, but he wasn't completely 40 weeks or later. They wanted to double check on his jaundice levels 24 hours after going home. Oh, technically we missed it. Yeah, it was supposed to be yesterday, but we didn't read all the packages that they gave us. We weren't really aware that we had to go back, so it got rescheduled to today. Hey guys, Kimmy here. I'm not in postpartum. I'm actually back at the hospital, and this is what we're doing right now. Luckily it isn't as serious or as bad as it seems. I was actually very scared. I noticed that he was changing color. Jaundice, very common in general. I didn't really think too much about it because I know that my mom, like my brother, had jaundice, a little bit of jaundice and all that, but we never had to get treated before. Ryan went to the appointment today, brought him to the hospital, and they told us that we had to stay here overnight and get him treated. Luckily, he hasn't hit the line of like a major concern. The thing that concerned them the most was that his jaundice levels increased from when he got discharged to today. So they were concerned that it was gonna be at a high level by tomorrow. To avoid that, we just decided to they told us to do the treatment today. So I've actually been here since about 3 o'clock. Baby had an appointment at like 1. I've been here since about 3 with baby, and I'm the only one allowed. So yeah, this is baby's third day of life. Baby also lost quite a bit of weight, so we're supplementing with formula. I'll probably have to update you guys on everything that's happened, how my postpartum has been. I think out of this whole situation and out of this whole experience, from being pregnant to the delivery to now is probably the hardest and most worrisome for me. There's just a lot of things going on. I'm just worried. Like, that's the most... I don't want to cry. I think that's the hardest part, is that you just get worried about baby being okay. And it's just harder that, Ryan's not here. I mean, we've been calling, texting constantly, but... And to add to that, I didn't bring Tylenol. I forgot to ask Ryan to bring Tylenol. And I know I could probably ask the nurses, but yeah, I'm just in a lot of pain. And I'm alone with baby, so... It's tough. But I think we'll be okay. I'm just worried, and I hope. They said that hopefully the treatment works and he'll be able to go home by tomorrow morning. I don't know exactly what time. I think that's one of the other things that is bothering me, is that I don't know what time I'll be leaving. So I'm kind of anxious about that. Just wondering what time will I be home. But yeah. It's all for baby. We love him. Daddy misses him so much. Ryan just called. He said he tried to fall asleep, but he couldn't. And he said that he's tired, but he can't sleep because he drank coffee. But I think it's more than just coffee. I think he's worried about us and worried about baby. Same feelings. We shall see. Hopefully it'll be quick, because I just want to be home.
What's going on, everyone? It's cut to a little bit of a story time video because I didn't have a chance to record every single thing that happened during this time. So let me walk you through the process of what actually happens when your baby has jaundice and you have to go through phototherapy. First step is you have to take him out every 2.5 to 3 hours to breastfeed, which is the usual newborn breastfeeding schedule or routine. Then you would have to close the actual opening because you have to keep the phototherapy booth at a certain temperature. And then I would breastfeed, I'd burp him and change his diaper. After changing his diaper, you'd have to put him back into the phototherapy and then feed him formula through the armholes that they had in the booth. Basically feed him until he doesn't want it anymore. Then you have to burp him in the photo booth or in the phototherapy booth. And then once he's done that, you lay him down to rest and he sleeps or just lays there up until the time that he feeds again. So keep in mind, this is a long process. So you're feeding them 2.5 to 3 hours. Usually the breastfeeding takes about 30 minutes or so. You want to put him 15 minutes on each breast. The burping, the changing the diaper, it all takes time. By the time the whole process is over, you spend about 1.5 hours to 2 hours doing all of the things that you have to do. And then by the time you have to wake him up, you've only got like about 30 minutes or 1 hour of rest, not even. You have to repeat the whole process again. The nurses come in from time to time, they collect all the diapers. So you'd have to set the diapers aside because they weigh them. I obviously couldn't sleep. 1, I was in pain. And 2, the bed that I had, I forgot what type of bed it was, but it basically, it's obviously a hospital bed, but at the same time there was something special, the nurses called it, but it was automatically changing positions. I think it was meant for people who were bedridden and couldn't get out of bed. But basically what would happen is I would sit down and something would move, like my legs would elevate or my back would start leaning back, all by itself, by the way, guys, all by itself. So I'm trying to get comfy, and sometimes there's times where I would find a comfortable spot, and then after a few minutes the bed would start shifting again, and I could not rest, I could not sleep. It's hard being a new first time mother to begin with, and to have to deal with that just 3 days, 4 days after birth, and you're still feeling so much pain, you're still feeling tired all by yourself. It's actually one of the most hardest things I've had to do emotionally and physically. There were so many different things leading up to this time. We haven't shown or told anyone exactly what happened during Noah's birth. Noah had to have a probe in his head to check his heart rate during my labor and delivery. The doctors or nurses, whoever took it out, end up cutting his head. So I don't know if you can see it now. It's healed up, but he had this area here, right here. So he had it cut. And what ended up happening, you could probably see a little bit of it right now. It's like a bump. So I forgot what to call it. I think it's a hematoma. Is that what it's called? Hematoma? Mm-hmm. So a hematoma ended up forming on that side of his head. It was pretty big before. Thank God it's starting to go down. In this part of the clip, I think when Ryan was doing skin to skin, the nurses and his arm ended up touching that area where he did get cut. You can hear in his cry it was a little bit different. Obviously in the moment at the time, we didn't think anything of it because, you know, it's our first time. They were assuring us like, oh, it's just something really small. So we actually ended up having to get 1 stitch for it. We understood that can happen, but at the same time, we kind of felt like the doctors and nurses kind of neglected that possibility, and they kind of just hurt him. Obviously we know it's unintentional, but it was still something that we were pretty upset about. Our whole family was upset about. Smiling. But that was something he had, and the doctors actually think that that's what caused the high rise in his jaundice levels. And when we went to his pediatrician, he told us that he had never seen anything like that, where they had to stitch the cut on the baby's head. So that kind of upset us as well, because a pediatrician of how many years has seen that. It's knowing that how rare it was for him to have that was kind of scary and upsetting. Luckily he was healthy, other than the jaundice. But our doctor also said that it's not uncommon for the baby to have a little bit of a rise in jaundice levels, not even 72 hours after birth. And him being 37 weeks and 5 days, he didn't understand why they had to keep us at the hospital. The doctor believed we didn't have to do that, the phototherapy. The pediatrician, I should say, sorry. We have mixed emotions about it, because obviously we don't know exactly what could happen if we didn't do the phototherapy, but at the same time, knowing that the pediatrician was kind of, I guess, surprised at everything that the hospital had decided to do. He just felt like everything that happened was very unnecessary. Going through what I had to go through during that time, being pain and stuff, knowing that I didn't have to do that, it was kind of, I have mixed emotions about it. How do you feel about it, babe?
It was it was pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
Especially like, I don't know, they just seemed like they were all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I should mention that, so they ended up taking his weight when we got admitted, and apparently their scale had some issues, so it showed that he was really underweight, which surprised Ryan and I, because he didn't look like he lost any weight. I mean, we know that after birth they usually lose about 10% of their birth weight, but he didn't lose much. So we were surprised when they told us that he had lost a lot of weight. When we were getting discharged, they had to check his blood levels and his weight again, and basically his weight had been the same as the time that they checked him 24 hours after birth. Later on, they came up to me and they were like, oh, there must have been an issue with the scale that we had. I don't want to blame the nurse for it, because I'm sure the nurses know what they're doing, but at the same time, it was like, really, like, you had us scared completely, because you told us he lost so much weight and his jaundice levels were borderline. Not mentioning any hospitals, but it was borderline traumatic. Very borderline traumatic, because it's definitely scary. You're a new time parent, you're hearing that he's lost tons of weight and you have to stay here, you're in pain, and it's just a huge mess. Luckily, thankfully, he was actually healthy. He didn't lose much weight. He was at a normal weight. Everything was good. Everything was Gucci. And we technically didn't have to stay at the hospital. I didn't have to stay alone, in pain, tired. Did we, baby? So now we are 1 month past his birth date. Right, baby? We're 1 month now. He's actually growing so much, so quickly. He's finally outgrown a lot of the newborns. We're wearing 0 to 3 months. So he's starting to fill them out pretty well. He's gaining weight normally. He's doing really well, and his hematoma has decreased quite a bit. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have had any experiences like this one, or if you have had any jaundice phototherapy that you had to go through. Comment it down below. I would love to hear what you had to go through, or how you went through it, or how long you even had to stay. I can't imagine what anyone has to go through in terms of jaundice or anything that a baby has to go back to the hospital after birth. It's definitely a scary thought. It's definitely an experience that you never forget. I'm sure there are worse cases than mine. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe. And make sure you turn on the bell notifications to get notified every single time we upload a new video. Join us on this journey of parenthood.